To have Boon-Hollows on the phone from Learning Lifelines, who's on a massive mission to help to get 100 businesses to generate $125 in the next 100 days to help for a cause that's close to her heart, which I'm going to get her to share in a second. Lauren's the founding director of Learning Lifelines, a non-profit dedicated to enhancing educational opportunities through equal access to technology. How you doing this morning?
I'm great.
And you're calling in from one of my favorite places in the world, Perth, Australia.
Yes, absolutely. It is, and it is one of the most beautiful places in the world. There is so much to be grateful for here.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I want to just take a moment to welcome anyone who's watching this episode live, whether it be on Facebook, YouTube, any of the platforms online. Rafi from my team is controlling and overseeing all the chat boxes. So please feel free over the next half an hour or so to ask any questions you've got for myself or for Lauren as well. And we look forward to getting those answered for you. So tell us about the vision that you have or the mission that you're on at the moment.
So Learning Lifelines was started earlier on this year during the COVID crisis. I work with a lot of schools, and we obviously had to make this massive switch to at-home online learning. And I was very surprised at the amount of people that didn't have computers, didn't even have smartphones, so they weren't able to engage at all. And even if they did have smartphones, or if they had like a crappy old laptop, they didn't have the data to actually be able to engage in any of the learning. So we kind of had this thing where kids that were well off and families that were well off were able to cope. But, kids that weren't and didn't have access to that technology were just falling farther and farther behind. Wow. And I'm very passionate about equality of opportunity. And I thought this should not be something that is stopping us from, from helping people learn. So we started Learning Lifelines. We have been very gratefully donated our first 50 laptops. They are all in production at the moment, getting everything added onto it. And we hope to have the first one going out in about 2 weeks' time. We've got we've got a young apprentice and a couple of kids that are studying their Cert 3 in business, and I think Cert 3 in logistics. Yeah. And they need these computers to basically help them, engage in all of the online study, and hopefully that leads them onto employment.
Yeah. So where are you finding these people in need?
Look, everywhere. So I do work with a lot of training providers. Because of the way that things have worked in the past, training providers are actually often, it's very difficult for them to actually provide that technology because it's seen to be an incentive. So there's actually quite a lot of legislation around being able to lend or provide any sort of technology because of rorts that have happened in the past. So they weren't prepared and they didn't have the resources to be able to do this. But they all want to help. So they now work with us, Learning Lifelines, and when they've got students that they can see are really trying to, engage in the course and succeed and push themselves forward, and they want to do this additional study, then, they kind of send them our way and say, look, these guys can help you out. And, we sit down and we make sure that they don't have the capacity to get it any other way. And then once they've actually got that access in their homes, we're kind of using that to say, now you've got all the technology, you've got the tools, you've got what you need to succeed. Let's now make it work. Like there's, no excuses. Let's get onto this and get you this qualification and move forward from here.
Yeah. And has there been any conversations with government bodies or anyone for larger funding? Because I can imagine that you're probably only still experiencing a small number compared to the people just in Australia alone that are in this predicament. And I guess because of everything's been going on with COVID, everyone's focused in every which way, that there's pockets of people like this that's being forgotten.
Yeah, so there's 1.4 million homes in Australia that don't actually have access to internet.
Wow.
And yeah, that's what everyone kind of goes like, wow, really? And the problem is that unfortunately, without access to internet, you don't have access to so many other things. So, for example, during the COVID crisis, when people were in lockdown, a lot of women who, or victims of abuse were afraid to make phone calls because the abuser was still in the house. Whereas those that have access to internet are able to kind of, they're able to type and they're able to access some of the computer online services. So one of the things we're building into all of our laptops now is an additional Lifeline section where people can access mental health support services online for free, where people can access digital literacy training or digital or financial literacy training. Having a laptop and internet in your home means that you have access to so many things that so many of us take for granted, that can make just such a huge difference in relation to, now that I've got a little bit of money, how do I use it wisely? I'm really struggling with the situation that I'm in. Is there a support service that can actually help me mentally, overcome that? Telehealth, all of these sorts of things. These are things that a lot of us take for granted, but are not available to 1.4 million Australian homes because they don't have internet.
Yeah, that number's fascinating, to think that they haven't got access to internet on their phone or access to internet on a computer. I guess like how can, if there's people watching this right now that are maybe feeling, moved or touched by this, how can they support you in this cause?
So they can head over to learninglifelines.org and they can sign up to make regular donations. So if you're a person, if you just got $5 extra a month, we know everyone is, in a really difficult position at the moment, but if you've just got $5 a month to donate, that would be amazing. If you're an employer, we would love to invite you to be one of our 100 employers that we're looking for over the next 100 days between now and the end of the year, to donate just $125 a month. We've done all of the numbers and we know that if we can get 100 employers donating $125 a month, that we can be working to get hundreds of computers out a year. And we're hoping to get to a point where we've actually got enough computers that, when a student successfully completes a course, that they can keep that laptop in their household and continue to use that to benefit their household. Yeah. So that's kind of our thought. Head over to www.learninglifelines.org. You can follow us on Facebook or LinkedIn and share our posts if you know employers that, have got a little bit extra to spare. We definitely, we're cementing ourselves here in WA and making sure that we help our home people first. And then we're definitely going to be looking to expand. And so we are in talks with a range of other organizations to expand into Queensland and New South Wales and Victoria. And hopefully, within a couple of years, we'll be able to turn around and say every home in Australia has got internet and they've got access to education and all the online health support services that they need to help them succeed.
Yeah. How did this come about? Like, where did this all start for you?
Look, I love helping people. I'm a volunteer firefighter. I have been for 2.5 years. Before that, I was always, if there was any charity, I was straight into it. But when I saw everything happening during COVID, and when I was home teaching my kids at the time and very heavily reliant on internet and laptops in order to kind of find that balance, for me and my work and for my kids with their school, having all of these RTOs and schools and trainers come back to me going, look, he doesn't have internet. He doesn't have any data. They don't have a computer. Like, we can't engage them. And then we had mentors coming back and saying, we haven't had any contact with them in like 4 weeks, and when we did have contact, it's sounding bad. Like they are really upset that they can't, they were progressing and they were building and they could see this future for themselves. And then all of a sudden that was cut off because of access to technology. And, as I said, we live in Australia, we live in this amazing land of opportunity where, if you work hard, there's so much you can achieve. But if you don't have access to that piece of technology, it just cuts off so many options to you. And I just wasn't okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm just going to fix it myself.
Interesting. And have you got some others supporting you and helping you through this process?
We do. We're very, very fortunate. So eFire, who is a company based here in Perth, they've shared a premises with us and they're housing a lot of our laptops at the moment. And they're one of our supporting employers. We've got Matt Ryder from Sales Sniper. He's one of our big supporters. We have several RTOs. So, Skill Hire, NARA, Core, Comtech. These are all different, training providers that are providing us with a lot of support as well, whether that's being pick up and drop off locations for the laptops, helping refer students to us, you know, being a monthly donator. They're all providing a huge amount of support. So we are very, very fortunate. And I think the WA community and the Australian community in general are big on giving back and helping others. You know, they're a very, very generous spirit. And so we're definitely looking to tap into that, and we'll hopefully continue to build on that and build from strength to strength.
No, I love that. I love that. So tell me, I'm curious to know, like, how did you get into becoming a volunteer firefighter?
How did I? I don't know. I was looking for something. My work is kind of sitting at a desk and solving people's, you know, people coming to me with problems, and, you know, working with people to kind of help them, you know, do better and build and build and build. But it's very kind of, you know, in the head sort of, and sitting, and I needed something really physical. So I wanted to give back in a way where I could actually kind of go out and physically do something. And I just started looking around at what my options were and came across SWORD. And so it's the statewide operational response division, volunteer fire and emergency services. And, you know, had a chat with the captain, and he was just this really beautiful spirit, and went down and looked at a couple of sessions, and I went, yeah, okay, I'm going to give this a try. I'm going to, you know, be a firefighter.
Yeah.
I wanted to show my kids that it was really important to give back as well. I think it's really important to demonstrate to them that, you know, when you do have a little bit, whether it's a little bit of extra time or a little bit of extra money, you should be doing something to give back to others. Like, that's, you know, how you kind of live a really fulfilled life.
Was that sort of values and morals that you were brought up by, like by your parents? Because it seems that you have a very, very kind heart, very giving.
Thank you. Yeah, definitely. My mum and my dad have always been really big at, like, you know, helping anybody out, you know, to their detriment at times, probably. But yeah, I've been very, very fortunate that my whole family is very giving and loving, and, you know, we're all about, you know, helping people. So that's, you know, that's just what I've been raised with. But I do believe that, you know, if you're not giving back to people in some way, shape or form, if you're not giving back to the community, then, you know, it does make it very, very hard to live a really fulfilling sort of life.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting, you know, working with a lot of entrepreneurs and business owners, I've noticed that there's this thing that goes on that for many of them in the beginning, there's almost like a scarcity mindset, because they're in a position where, you know, their kind of core needs aren't necessarily, you know, their basic needs for safety and survivability aren't yet met. Yet I've noticed 100% of the time that through working with these business owners, when they get into a position where, you know, they are running a profitable business, they are taking a decent salary, that there's this natural need that gets turned on inside to contribute, to make a difference, to help others out. I've not yet worked with a business owner that I haven't found that to be true as well. And I think, you know, you look at the law of attraction, look at a lot of stuff around wealth creation. There is something about coming from a place of abundance and being able to contribute to some way, shape or form to others outside of yourself, that in many ways allows us to generate more wealth and allows us to have more for ourselves as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're social creatures, you know, like at the end of the day, you know, I think the two things that people love to do is they love to build, and then they love to, you know, help others. And I mean, you know, when you look at even small children, you know, what do they love to do? They love building things. And you know, they just naturally love to work with each other. And I think that does continue with us through our lives. And, you know, we just got to everyone finds different ways to do that.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, look, if you're watching this episode live or in the recording, and you feel drawn to contribute to help others to have access to quality education, to be able to, you know, have their dreams fulfilled, please visit www.learninglifelines.org. Anything else you feel to share?
No, just, yeah, as I said, come and check us out. You know, if you think that we could be doing something better, we're open to that as well. You know, we certainly do hope to be sharing this with a lot of people. If you know students, or if you know someone that is looking to participate in online study and maybe they don't have the tools and the access, you know, head over there as well. We hopefully have, you know, I think we've got about 14 computers that are getting ready to go out in the next 2 to 3 weeks. So if you're a student that needs help as well, or if you're looking to participate in online education, the WA government is actually coming out with an additional $63 million to support training over the couple of years, over the next year or so. So there's lots of opportunity to retrain yourself. Technology is not going to be a problem. We will absolutely help you out there, but there's lots of opportunities in WA. So if you're here, take advantage of it.
Awesome. Love that. Lauren, thank you so much for your time, for your heart, and for the vision that you have to help so many other people to get access to education.
No worries. Thank you so much for having us on, Barry.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.